All right, so our API project is a cold case matching game. We built this to bring awareness to cases that haven't yet been solved and also to give people an idea of what cases look like after they've been solved. In here, we have the REST file with all of our routes. I took out the ones that require authorization because they don't work, but I did leave one in so that you can see what it looks like. There we go. Basically, it just takes you here, it tells you that it needs auth verification in order to view it, but the rest of them work. These are the local host versions. Oh, that one you need authorization, but they all work all the way down, and then you can see that we have it for the Heroku version as well. All of those work. If someone puts in inaccurate information like the wrong ID, this one no longer exists, then we have stuff that'll send a message that tells them that they couldn't find it and that they can try again. We have those for all of our routes, but that's just an example of one. And then if we come down here, stop our server, I can show you our test routes. This is what we did for our unit testing. We've got some for our get routes, our post routes, our put routes, and then we also have some for all of our delete routes. And as you can see, out of all of our tests, 14 out of 14 passed. The route that we didn't include is our get route for our cases. After talking to Brother Birch, we have base 64 images in each of those. And from the VS Code side of things, we cannot add the base 64 string without it causing an error. So the only way for us to add that is through MongoDB. So in our REST file, you can see that we can retrieve that and view what it is. But here, in order to test it, we have to put all of the information that would be expected, that they would expect to see if we were actually running it. And the base 64 image always brings up an error, but apparently it's a node issue and it has nothing to do with whether or not the code works. So those are all of our testing options.
Alrighty, and what I'm going to be talking about is all the different API routes. We're going to be doing some testing, seeing how it looks in the database, right, as it updates in MongoDB. And I want to also talk about a couple of highlights of our program, our API, that are really unique, that really stand out, I feel like. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our user. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And I'm going to pick an email that I haven't used yet just to show how this works. So you can see it's going to auth0. Auth0, we're signed in auth0. I'm going to come to API docs. So if I go ahead and refresh, auth0 sends the data information to us, and then we in turn store it in a document in our collection. So you can see here that's updated. Okay, and so to get the logged in profile is pretty easy. It just pulls up whatever is validated under auth0. And you can see here that games completed is 0, highest score is 0. Take a mental note of that for the future. I'm going to go ahead, it'll show get users. And you'll see that this now shows all of our different users. Okay. Creating a user, so in the event that auth0 doesn't work, auth0 is down, it's not functioning, we have a manual route that you can use to create users. So we're not without getting data still, and profile and users and all that good stuff. Mr. Tom Hanks decided to join us like that. So, and if we update, we can see that that shows as well. So I am tomhanks@gmail.com. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this test user. Okay, we're gonna update. Let's update this 1 because the name is kind of funky. We'll update the name and the picture to Tom Holland. So now it's Mr. Tom Holland. We'll come here and refresh. Tom Holland, Groningen 514. Tom Holland, Groningen 514. Perfect. So I can come here and we can delete. Let's say Mr. Tom Hanks is like, I need to reduce how many email things that I sign up for. So we'll just go ahead and not do this for now. We say, okay, Mr. Tom Hanks, and now he is gone. So that's it for our user route. Now, the user ties in really well, like interacts really well with our score database, making sure you can see all of our scores here. So let's get started. We can get a list of all of our scores. And the cool part is in addition to getting scores, if you see it's ranked by the highest, which is 1 million, right? And then it just increments down based on score, right? Up to 18. Well, you can query, and we can get specific. So like this would be a leaderboard, for example. And if we wanted to get just like personal rankings, you could do that based on email, right? And it also updates the rankings to show, well, this is the highest score of this user, and here's all the other remaining scores of this user, right? So that's pretty handy. Now we can come here and create a score. And there's a reason why I said hold on to that score, or the games completed and highest score, because for hours, you'll see that in our user has been updated automatically to reflect 1 game completed and highest score. So I could even come here and I could query and now it pops up. Right, and that's the only score, so it's number 1. Right? So that's pretty cool. Go ahead and we'll get a different ID. We'll get this. Oh, I'm in user. I am sorry. There we go. So, 1 million looks like is the one we're looking for. And we don't have any update endpoint for this because once it gets posted, you don't really need to update it. So we'll delete this random one with 23. It's not my proudest score, so we'll delete that and get rid of it. 204, so we're good. You see, it's now nowhere to be seen. Okay. That's it for our scores. Agency information, I feel like, is pretty straightforward. It's there to show which agencies have jurisdiction over which cases, which cold case files. So I feel like it's pretty straightforward. It just contains just data that you would expect to see: name, supervisor, phone, email, and the rank of the supervisor. If I wanted to search by the rank, maybe I wanted a detective, I could come here and say, well, which agencies have a supervisor that's a detective? And it pulls up here with all of our detectives, right? So that's pretty cool. Creating an agency is pretty straightforward and simple as well. We've also included data validation in all of our routes, so I could even come here and I could just totally mess with this email and this phone, and you can see that it was a bad request, phone format's invalid, the email format is invalid. So if you don't put anything in right, like a phone number and email, then that's gonna lead to issues. We got it all fixed, and now it posts. Okay, there's the test. We'll go ahead and get the Kilgore Police Department. See that pops up. I try not to update the agencies we already have here because those are actually tied to different cases. I don't really want to mess with that. So we'll change this to Baker Testing Test. And we'll say Chase Moses. I'm not a lieutenant, I am a commander. You can see that's been updated. Here and here. I'm a commander. I like that rank. But unfortunately, that's not exactly true. I am not a commander, so that has to go bye-bye. and that is gone. So we're good with agency information. Last but not least, we have cold case files. Now the cold case files are kind of the bread and butter of our app, right? That's what our matching game is based upon. So we want to make sure we have all of our information for it. So we've got 9 different fields, not including the ID. And the cool part about it is it has agency information that's an object ID. Upon doing a GET request, whether that's getting all cases or getting by ID, this actually gets pulled during the GET request, and it pulls that data from the agency collection and then does a dot populate again on any of the GET endpoints there to, in effect, hydrate that object into seeing all of the data there. So we can depict that by coming here. Now we do have base 64. And as a result of base 64, it does take some time to load, and it takes quite a lot to search through. So what I mean by this is this first one's not going to work. It's actually going to show null. But the second record will show what I'm talking about here. Here we go. So you can see here agency information. Here it only shows just the object ID, but here it shows the ID and it shows the other information pertaining to that document in that collection. So creating a case is pretty simple too. Just make sure that agency information is a string and it has a valid object ID, or you might get a null value, or just that number. If it doesn't hydrate or show up with any additional information, then it's not the right ID. So again, we do data validation here as well for websites. Right, website URL format's invalid. Okay, but we fixed it, and now it pops up. Test. Okay. Get case by ID. Let's get the Delafield John Doe case. Okay, it was a car accident. Scroll through all this base 64, and it pops up, and you can see that it also pops up with agency information. Okay, we can update, so let's update the one we just created. That's why I put it under test, so I knew what I was looking for. We'll say the victim is Chase Moses. I am an imposter. Something happened to me. What happened to me? It's unsolved. No idea. Missing persons or homicide. Put a bunch of different things in there. Execute. See the Chase Moses is there. Refresh. Chase Moses. Okay, and because I don't want to be an imposter anymore, we'll go ahead and get rid of it. Delete successful. And it's no longer there. Alrighty, well that is, in a nutshell, how our API works, how all of our different endpoints work. They've all tested successfully, and we had a lot of fun implementing some unique ideas into this project. So thanks for taking the time to watch this. Have a good day.